All right. So I just wanted to take the time to welcome you to our Meet the Candidates for our 2024 elections. My name is Kimmy Black, and I am the elections chair. So just a few pieces to remind you for some dates that are coming up. For those chapters looking to increase their delegate count, if you are recruiting members and that causes you to have more delegates, we will be emailing you September 1st to make sure that you are aware and you can add those delegates to that list. Elections are going on till September 5th at 11:30 p.m. And then we will be sharing results September 7th as originally planned via Facebook Live. So just so you know some of those dates coming up. I did want to take a minute tonight to introduce our moderator. I'm honored to have a special guest here whose home chapter is Ann Arbor. She was your 85th JCI Michigan president and 94th JCI USA president, Fay Walsh. So help me welcome her, and I will turn this event over to her. Thank you, Fay.
Thank you, Kimmy. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. When IPP Carol approached me about this a while back, it was obviously something that I said yes to right away. Any of you who have been around for a little while know that I have done this in the past with Meet the Candidates moderation. It's something that I enjoyed truly, and I actually passed along. I'm like, hey, anytime you guys need me to do this, just ask. I'm more than happy to do this because it's a whole lot more fun when you're not actually the candidate. You're not the one on the hot seat, and you actually get to kind of manage the process. And in fairness, I've done this a few times myself, so believe me, I know exactly how all the candidates feel. Have certainly had my fair share of campaigns over the years, and I just want to start by saying congratulations to all of you, and to take this step in your leadership journey in the organization just by putting yourself out there is a huge accomplishment. So I want you to all know that I'm super proud of you and very excited to watch you as you go on this journey. I've certainly had a chance to watch most of you as you have done various roles over the years and gotten involved, and so it's just really nice to see things come full circle when you start to run for those next level positions. So, but tonight is about you guys. Tonight is about hearing your vision, about hearing your ideas, your goals, but then also giving you a chance to answer questions that people may have. Now, we will do our best to give everybody a chance to have their questions asked and answered when we do the Q&A portion. Candidates will have 90 seconds to respond. So just kind of keep that in mind. You want to be very succinct and concise in your answers. If anybody was at the original, the first Meet the Candidates event and had a question but didn't get a chance to ask it, we'd ask that you raise your hand first. We'd love to give you first chance at asking the questions of our candidates. And we will go one by one. So our order tonight is we'll start with our district director candidate with Tyler. Then we will go to our vice president, our programming vice president candidate, Megan. And then we will have presidential candidate, Michelle. And we'll do Q&A after each person has a chance to provide their speech or their insights that they want to share with you. And then we'll do a wrap up at the end. So without further ado, let's go ahead and kick off this virtual Meet the Candidates event for this evening. And I am going to start by introducing your candidate for district director, Tyler Roberts, to share with you his vision for next year as district director. Tyler, the floor is yours.
Hello. Like she said, my name is Tyler Roberts. I am from the Allegan and South Kent chapters, currently serving as vice president of both and currently serving as the technical director on the state board. My vision for the next year as district director is involvement in between chapters. I am very lucky to have a district where we are all fairly physically close together. But I feel like we have a lack of visitation between chapters for our large events, and it's honestly a little disappointing to me. Um, I, for one, love traveling to all the different chapters, and I know there are a small amount of people that I do see everywhere in our district, but I would love to pump those numbers up. Um, I know a lot of people in the past few years, especially chapter leadership, has been talking about burnout and understaffing for events. And I think this is a huge way to um, relieve a lot of people's stress as far as finding volunteers and finding staff members for events. I also know that a lot of other chapters have resources as far as other than membership, um, maybe it's a larger account that allows for more donations or access to event space for collaborative events. And I would love to be able to figure out what resources everybody has to be able to allocate them, correctly for new events, ongoing events, and to just, like I said, relieve stress with bringing new ideas and uh, an added amount of volunteers and staff for like encouragement and morale boosting for events. And that's kind of what I've been looking at.
Awesome. Thank you, Tyler. So you've all had a chance to hear what Tyler's looking to do, why he's running for this role. So we will open the floor now for Q&A to see who has questions for Tyler as your district director candidate. And if you can, use the raise hand feature, if at all possible. If you want to put a question in the chat, I think Gabe is helping us to monitor that as well, so we can make sure that we get your questions answered. So who has a question for Tyler? Or just feel free to come off mute. We have a fairly small group here, so I don't think we should be talking over each other. All right, you know I've always got a question ready if we don't have any hands in the air, so I'll ask.
Go right ahead. I'm ready.
All right, so while people are formulating their thoughts, maybe coming up with a good question for you, Tyler, I think you and I probably met when I was running the First Timers program a little while back, right? So
Yep.
I'm a firm believer that getting our new members to conference is a really important piece of the JC experience. And I feel like that really provides a lot of energy. So as a district director, what ideas do you have to increase attendance at state conferences and state events?
So, actually in Allegan, we've been doing a really good job at this. And it's genuinely just persistence in bringing it up, talking about the trainings, talking about the benefits of being at conference, um, and a big part being the social aspect. A lot of people in my district are in it for the social aspect and the communications, and just letting them know, like, hey, a lot of people are going to be there with these same ideas and ideals and um, like interests as you. This is a great time to, even if you're not looking to network, even if you're not in it for the trainings, this is an amazing place to meet people. And just being able, to travel and talk about conferences and the people that I've met, and the connections that I've made, both professional and just as friends, I feel like that has already proven successful in getting people interested.
Thank you. All right, so I'm going to go back to the audience. Who has a question that they would like to ask our district director candidate, Tyler Roberts? Oh, we have a hand. Michelle McGrann, go ahead with your question.
Tyler, what do you think your greatest strength is that you bring to the role of district director?
My greatest strength right now is the first thing that comes to mind is my willingness to travel and to be present at all of the chapters in my district. I just recently, as of this past Saturday, hit everybody this year, which was a huge goal of mine, knowing that I wanted to step into this role. And I am 100% comfortable with showing up and driving and taking responsibility in any of our chapters and taking on, any role at events. Um, so just being able to be present and being a listener in person, and being able to again communicate with people in person, because I feel like that is one of the best ways to get information across.
Great. Who else has a question? Other questions for Tyler? Gabe, do we have any in the chat?
None in the chat.
Okay, thank you. So I'll do one last call. Back in the day, we used to, several chapters ran bingo, so I'm very familiar with the final bingo call. So any more bingos, any more bingos, any more bingos? No. Well, Tyler, thank you so much for, Kimmy, here we go. Last second, under the wire.
I'm ready.
So I do have a question from an email. How do you think you'll be able to, or what tools do you think you would use to communicate with the board, based on things that are going on in your district, just to help, encourage that involvement from the state board?
So definitely, attending, obviously attending all of these state board meetings. So I have that information to give to them. But also just letting the different chapters know that I am open and available. Um, I've already made plans to attend a lot of their either GMMs and have offered to attend their board meetings as needed. And then I'm very comfortable with a lot of their current, a lot of my chapter's current leaderships, and a lot of the current leadership on the state board, and with my fellow candidates that are running. I feel like I'm very comfortable with them. So just having an open line of communication with all of the chapters and with the state board, and being able to communicate any needs or even set up meetings with those who might be able to answer questions better than I can.
Do we have any more email questions, Kimmy? No. All right.
No.
One last call. Any final questions for Tyler? All right. Well, Tyler, thank you for sharing your vision with us today.
Thank you.
And I wish you the best of luck on this journey. I am always here to help however you need it. Please don't forget that. So with that, we're going to move into our next candidate. And I realized that I didn't give the overview in regards to timelines. We did a good job with Tyler's timing, but for our vice president candidate, they will have 6 minutes, including the introduction, to give us their to share their information with us. And our presidential candidate will have 10 minutes, including introduction, to share information. Again, we'll stick to no more than 90 seconds on answers to Q&A. So with that, I am now pleased to introduce to you, for purposes of introduction, past JCI Michigan Membership Vice President and Training Director, Chris Crawford from Livonia, to introduce our candidate, McGrann Jalbert, for Programming Vice President. So Chris, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. JCI Michigan, it is an honor and a pleasure to introduce one of my best friends in the world, McGrann Jalbert, to run for Programming Vice President. Our journey started in 2018. We decided to run for president together in 2019. We were co-presidents, did a fantastic job. Over the years, McGrann has always been there to support the JCI mission and vision. Whether it's not, when it comes to her, it's not about what is right. Well, it's not about who's right, it's about what is right. So with that, I want to introduce McGrann Jalbert.
Thank you so much, Chris. Chris was a big inspiration into me running for this position. I am a Wyandotte and Livonia JC. I have been a JC since 2013. As Chris alluded to, I have been a president of Wyandotte. I have served on the state board in multiple roles as a district director, secretary multiple times, and on the local boards as ID VP, membership VP, president, secretary, and I don't remember if I just said management VP or not. And programming has always been one of my favorite things. I have competed, back in my day, they were competitions, now they're skill building. And I've competed in almost all of them, even went to the national level on multiple different competitions. And so I'm very passionate about them, because not only have they helped me in my JC career, but also in my professional career. And alluding to what my vision is, it is the building blocks of JCI. I think we need to get back to those building blocks, those basics. We have so many new members that have come around in the past couple of years, and we just need to provide them with the basic knowledge in order to become very successful in their JC career. A lot of us are aging out within the next 3 to 4 years, And I really feel like we need to set those building blocks now so that we do have a very good future in JCI. So with those building blocks, A is to allocate resources to provide institutional knowledge. We have so many resources in JCI, but I feel like we don't provide them to our members as much as we could. We have senators, we have past presidents, we have our wonderful document library that Noel and the communications team and technology teams have all created for us to be able to go to, but I feel like we don't provide those to our chapters or provide the ways to get to them as much as we could. And so that is one thing that I want to focus on in programming is allocating those resources to our chapters so that they have the tools and the knowledge to be able to be successful. The B in our building blocks is to be able to bridge our JCI with real life situations. And I kind of talked about that with competitions. Our speaking competitions, our debate competitions, our writing, that can all help us with many of our careers that we do have. And so I feel like if we can really kind of show how people have utilized speak up, debate, write up, and then been able to progress that into their professional career, I feel like we could really get people to be more involved in those skill building competitions that we now have. And with that, also looking at our PMGs, I've utilized PMGs to run large scale fundraisers in my workplace for March of Dimes and for the neonatal ICUs. And so I think we can really show people that that PMG is more than just writing it for a project and presenting it for an SPE competition, that it can be utilized to provide to our leadership in our careers and stuff like that to be able to run events and projects in our careers as well. And then when we look at the C of building blocks, I want to create an environment inclusive of all ages and skill level. Our programming sometimes intimidates people. I have heard that from members that they're afraid to compete in our skill building competitions because they're intimidated by the same people that are always competing and winning those awards. And so if we could kind of have some type of tiered system to that instead of a winner takes all type of programming, I really feel like we could get people more involved in those skill building competitions, as well as taking our SPE programming and not just having the presentations in front of the judges, but also having those types of presentations kind of be incorporated into our conferences and showing them on screen, because not everyone gets to see these projects. And I really got this idea when I was judging in the last set of competitions, because somebody from out of state really enjoyed seeing the PowerPoint, seeing the pictures, and taking that back to her chapters in her home state. She was from a different state. I really feel like that's something that we need to be able to do in our programming area in order to share our knowledge, share our information across all of our chapters, instead of just having those one chapters win an award and that's the end. No one sees their presentation. And so those are the building blocks that I really want to focus on over the next year in the programming area.
Great. Thanks, Megan. All right, now it is Megan's turn to answer your questions about her vision for next year, what she brings to the table, whatever questions you may have. As I mentioned before, if you attended the first Meet the Candidates and were unable to ask your question, we'd love to ask you to go first just to make sure you get a chance to do so. If not, we'd love to open the floor for anybody else who is here. Again, I do have a question ready to go if we don't see any volunteers right off the bat. So I will turn it over to you all first and see what we come up with. So questions for Megan as candidate for programming vice president. All right, President Karina.
Hey, Megan. As a former programming VP, I'm really excited about all of your ideas. In the last couple of years, we've added different competitions or different SPE awards and trying to engage members to either submit new things or try out new opportunities. What is a new either skill building competition and or SPE area that you would like to include to help our membership be more active?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for that question, Karina. Currently, there's nothing that I have that I want to add something new into. But as I had talked about in the introduction, kind of having more of a tiered system when we have those competitions. So if we have a beginner area, if we have beginner, rookie, veteran, if we can kind of break it up, I would want to talk with my team, the directors that I bring onto the team, and see how they feel about that and their ideas to kind of build on that. That's just the initial idea I have right now, is kind of bringing that tiered system, maybe starting at the district level and having those smaller competitions at the district level and bringing those people that win at the district levels into our state level when we do the semester SPs and the semester competitions and all of that. That's the basis of my idea right now. I don't want to just throw my idea, so that's why I would like to have my team talk about that and kind of help me develop what I have started thinking about and develop that into a more concrete and systematic way of doing it.
All right, who has our next question for programming VP candidate McGrann? And remember, you can put something in the chat. Gabe is monitoring that. Kimmy, do we have any email questions? Now that I know that's an option, I didn't know that was an option before. All right, I'll go to you next, Kimmy.
It would help if I unmuted myself. It's not like we're new to this whole virtual thing. What are your plans for utilizing the chapter plan, and how will you help engage chapters in using it more effectively?
Yeah, I know that's been kind of a downward slope over the past couple of years as less chapters are utilizing that chapter plan. I think having trainings on it first and foremost. I know we don't have high engagement at trainings, but providing that opportunity for trainings, providing that opportunity for coffee hour, or cocktail hour, however people want to choose to celebrate having that, and just being an open forum for them to come and be able to ask questions, and for our team, for the programming team, to be able to actually go through that chapter plan with the chapters, ask them if we can be invited to their chapter retreats and really bring our knowledge and go through it with them instead of just kind of giving them the template and saying, here, fill this out. I think not everybody is go-getter to fill it out. And if we sat there with them and kind of helped them and gave them that guidance with it, I think we could have a bit more engagement with the chapter plan.
All right. Who's next? Who has a question for McGrann? All right, well, I'll throw my question out so others can again gather their thoughts, think about a good question for you. So you are running for programming vice president, but as you may know, I am a firm believer that everyone's job is membership. And so I would love to know more about what ideas you have for incorporating membership recruitment specifically. Obviously, activation, I think, comes into play a lot with programming, but membership recruitment specifically into the programming area throughout JCI Michigan.
Sure, thank you for that question. I'll be the first to admit membership is not my greatest strength. As I mentioned, some of my past positions that I've held, you didn't hear membership in there. I do struggle, and I'm not afraid to admit it. I do struggle going and asking people to join the organization. But what I do have as a strength in that is I'm very passionate about the organization, and I have a lot of energy and willingness to share that with people. And I think, as Tyler also alluded to, being present at different chapters events and showing that energy, showing that passion is how I feel that I could get engaged with helping membership recruitment versus just talking and asking. We have people that can go out and start that process, and then we have people that are great closers to be able to come in and grab those potential new members and bring them in to our organization. And so I feel my strength would be to be able to go out, share that passion, share that energy about the organization and what we do offer and what we do provide in our programming area with them.
Great, thank you. Gabe, do we have any questions in the chat?
No, we don't, but I did put a comment in the chat. Oh, good timing.
Nice, I like it. All right. Any other questions for our programming vice president candidate, McGrann Jalbert? You guys are being way too easy on these candidates tonight. Maybe you're saving it all up for our presidential candidate. I don't know. All right, Krista, floor is yours.
Hi, Megan. Question I have for you is what is one of your favorite projects that you've worked on, and how did you utilize the resources that we have available, like the PMG for the project's programming?
I will say Beautiful Baby. That was a project that I took over from somebody in our chapter. It was a legacy project, and we had done it just in person for many years, and we were able to move it to a virtual and an in-person project. I read the PMG from the past person, what needed to be improved upon, and then I built my PMG on top of that, adding to it in some of the ideas I had. And we were able to take that fundraiser from being a $7,000 fundraiser to a $23,000 fundraiser that very first year I took it over. So I was very excited about that. Very, very passionate about that PMG to the point where I shared it with the chapter again, the Wyandotte chapter this year, with somebody new that was going to be chairing the event. Reached out to her, asked her if she wanted to see my PMG because it was super detailed. It's won a couple of awards for SPE as well. And so I was able to help her this year with my past experience with it, which was really cool because I haven't been involved in it with the past 2 or 3 years. So that is how my favorite project and how I've utilized that PMG.
Good information. Who else? What other questions do we have from the audience?
I do see that Tyler has his hand up.
Oh, thank you.
So you mentioned having the district directors maybe assist in your like tiered skill building opportunities. So I was just wondering how did you envision that happening, or if you had a vision for how district skill building should be ran in the future?
Sure. When I was a district director, it was an idea I had, and we never really brought it to fruition with having those district skill building competitions. I am working with Emily. We do have a meeting. She had come to me and asked me if I would like to help create one at the Redford chapter and within the district to be in October. And so we are in the planning stages of that. It is going to be starting to be planned today, and I hope utilizing what Emily has thought in bringing me into this process and what I can offer to her after listening to her ideas, and that I'm hoping that that is a way that we can start to build it next year into all of the other districts and not just our current district.
Thank you.
Awesome. Tyler, your background, the hand raise, I missed it. So Kimmy, thank you for the assist on that. All right. Any other questions for Megan? I'm looking around, watching. Going once, twice. I've also done auctions, sold for so we are now going to move to our next candidate. I want to say thank you, Megan. Great job sharing your vision and answering our questions. Same offer applies to you. If there's anything I can do to help, please don't hesitate to reach out. And we are going to finish with our final candidate. For purposes of introduction, we have JCI Michigan District C Director Emily Bush, who will be introducing our candidate for 100th JCI Michigan President, Michelle McGrann.
Hi, everybody. I started a timer on my phone so that there's no chance that I'm talking too long. So a lot of people on this Zoom were present for the in-person Meet the Candidates at Mid-America. So I'm going to talk about a different story than what I did in that. There's also a recording of that available on Facebook if anyone wants to catch that intro. I got to meet Michelle's grandmother recently, and watching Michelle with her grandmother, who just lost her husband a few days before I met her, has a broken wrist, has fallen so much, it's just covered in bruises, and is the sweetest little old lady. Michelle makes a lot more sense to me now. After spending an evening with Michelle's grandmother, here's my cat Finn, sorry. But B, getting to watch her with this vulnerable little lady who needed so much help and care was just a really special moment. I do not have the same relationships with my family members that Michelle does with hers. And it was so wonderful to watch her. Everything that I know is inside her be like enveloped into this one interaction with her grandmother. Um, and I really just wanted everyone to know that I got to experience that. It was lovely. And seeing her take care of her is exactly how I know she will take care of our organization. I'm gonna make her cry before she has to speak, sorry. So she just wants the best for everybody and will work her butt off. We're being recorded, so we'll work her butt off to make sure that everyone who comes to her needing help of any kind will have the resources they need, will have the support they need, will have anything she could possibly provide you with. And her resources are vast. So I don't want to talk too much because, as I said, at Mid-America, I have time management issues and my timer is going. So I think everyone here kind of knows how wonderful Michelle is. And I figured the grandmother story was the best way to further that knowledge for everybody. So please, I'm going to talk a little bit longer so Michelle can gather herself. But please welcome Michelle McGrann, past president of Redford. I don't know your number, I'm sorry. And JCI Michigan 100 candidate for state president next year.
Thank you, Emily. And I was going to say we're from Redford. I sometimes forget my own number, and Gaby has to remind me. That's why he's laughing over there. And can I just say thank God for Zoom and the improved my appearance so that y'all don't see this mascara that is running right now. So first of all, I want to thank each and every one of you, whether you are live in this meeting or you are watching the recording. Your dedication to this organization and trying to, pay attention and know sort of what are the plans and take stake into our future next year and even beyond that's what being a JC is all about, right? We look at the status quo and we figure out what can we do to make things better. And when I say that we look for things to make better, we do that in our society, we do that in our communities, and we do that very personally. My theme this year is local growth, global opportunity. And when I was kind of developing that theme, when I say local growth, I mean at all different levels. I feel like in this organization, we talk about membership growth a lot, and that is very, very important. Don't get me wrong. I'm not discounting that membership growth is important. But I think the real benefit of being a member is the personal growth that each and every one of us get to experience. I joined this organization when I was 23 years old. I have never lived in the community in which I am a member. I do all of my volunteering in a community that I didn't necessarily call home, but has become home over time. And I can honestly say that I am not the same person that I was when I was 23 due to this organization. I hope to say that I am better. I have learned some different skills, not only, those practical career skills, which are critically important. I started a business with members that I met from JCI. So don't get me wrong, like that's what puts food on my table. But I mean skills as a human being, skills as a leader, skills as a communicator and an advocate for causes that I feel are important. JCI and Michigan, all of you to a certain extent provided that for me. And I think that is something that we touch on, but I don't know if we highlight and explain it to other people. JCI teaches you everything that you can't learn anywhere else. There's not a school in this world that teaches you the important things that JCI can. And I hope that through next year and beyond, that we can grow not only numbers, but grow as individuals to take that charge on and become the person that we want to be. Whatever your goal is, those are individual. We give you the skills and abilities to help you get there. And I'd love to hear what those goals are. I think the other benefit, and that's sort of that other side of the theme, is the global opportunity. We are an international organization. And as somebody who grew up in a pretty small town, who never thought that traveling internationally was going to be on my, I didn't think it was a possibility. That was something that, other people were able to do. I stumbled into it in a very lucky, happy accident that, looking back, I can see how, but at the time had no idea what it was going to lead to, and have enriched my life and increased my knowledge and brought so many benefits that I want to make those opportunities available to each and every member here. It's not, and it doesn't even necessarily mean buying a plane ticket and getting on a plane, which if you're able to do so, that's awesome. And I will encourage you and hopefully be sitting in the seat next to you, because that's my favorite thing to do. So let's go. But there are opportunities, COVID has made it so that we have found new ways to engage with people from across the world, and being able to learn from them, to see what other JCI chapters are doing, to see what growth opportunities are available to us, skills development sessions and competitions, whether you're judging or competing from people around the world. This is something that can enrich your experience. It is an opportunity, exactly what I said, global opportunity that allows you to chart the path that you want to see to achieve the success that you want to achieve. I have served on multiple levels of this organization. I have been at the international level. I've trained nationally. I've had the opportunity to go to other states' conventions, which has been amazing. Meet people from all over, and those resources. There's so many things out there that would allow us to be more efficient, to improve our programming, to improve our membership efforts, to work together and collaboratively to achieve the goals that we want as JCI members. And I'm hoping that those experiences and that knowledge that I can bring back to JCI Michigan to make us better, to help you as an individual achieve your goal, and us as an organization to achieve our goals. That's kind of the high level. Yes, I am an OKR junkie. There are distinct ideas and plans that I would hope that we could work on, but I feel like that's a bit of a collaborative effort. And I don't think that the role of president is one person. We have a board of directors for a reason, and I would love input from those others who are willing to step up, as well as chapter members and even just general members. So I have ideas. However, I want input, I want feedback, I want to hear from you before they become concrete plans. And for that, I'm willing to answer any questions and share those ideas, but I don't necessarily want it part of this platform, because it's all of us together. And I hope that you're willing to have those conversations with me and give me your input, give me your feedback, and together we can design JCI Michigan not only for the 100th year, but this 100 years after that. Thank you very, very much. And I look forward to hopefully serving all of you as the 100th president of JCI Michigan. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. All right. She is running for the top office, so I have to believe there are tons of questions in this audience. So who would like to be the first to ask Michelle a question about her candidacy? Oh, come on. I assure you, when I ran for president, this was not how quiet folks were. All right, President Karina.
So we've all been at different points in the organization, wanted to walk away with frustrations or just being exhausted and trying to find a work-life balance. Can you tell us about a time that you thought about walking away, but really ultimately the question is, what brought you back? What keeps you coming back to the organization time and time again?
Yeah, so I'll kind of preface that in two ways, right? There was a time that I did actually step back from the organization. I was getting married that year. I needed to save up. I couldn't necessarily afford conferences and stuff like that. So I stepped away from the organization for almost a full year. But at that point, I never left JCI. I didn't never felt like I wasn't a JC. It was a pause, right? And I think that that is really sort of that love for the organization that while I knew it was circumstantial and that I would be coming back. Now, let's be honest, there are always times when something goes wrong or there's some sort of drama. You're just exhausted and you're burnt out that you think that like, oh, this is just one more thing. But it's really a combination of the people and the opportunity, right? Like there are so many things in this organization that, you know, what personally or professionally, I have a network that I can reach out to. When I needed insurance for my company and I needed a special rider and they needed something and I know jack about insurance, my insurance agent is a JC. And I said, here's what they're asking for. Can you make me whole on this so I can apply for it and not charge me an arm and a leg? And they said, I got you. And I didn't I trusted that they were looking out for my interests as much as they would themselves because of that network. I have leaned on multiple people on this call for family issues and emotional support. You know, Emily helped me this week alone when we had a death in the family and my grandma needed something, and my grandma is my person. That's, you know, despite what might be going on, some project that's over budget or somebody who didn't turn in something when they were supposed to, that's what being a JC member is. And that's what's kept me here for, oh my God, I'm 13 years. It makes me feel so old. So, and thank you for making me cry along with Emily. Dude.
All right, we're not going to talk about being old, Michelle. Thank you. What other questions do we have for our presidential candidate? All right, I see Kimmy's got her hand raised. Go ahead.
So in this organization, we talk a lot about succession planning. How do you plan on working to ensure our organization is around for years to come?
Yeah, that is actually something super important to me. My goal is to figure out different strategies on how to empower our members to take on leadership roles sooner. And I don't necessarily think that that's necessary. Yes, there are certain skills necessary, don't get me wrong, but I think that a lot of it also has to do with confidence and motivation, and what can we do to empower those people to try to feel comfortable trying new things. We often say that we are the organization where it's safe to fail, but we don't behave in the way or act in the way that creates that safety for our members. The more that members are able to step up earlier, the more opportunities they have to learn those development skills, those leadership skills that prepare them to higher offices, to prepare them to innovate and make our organization what we want it to be for the future. My goal would be that I hope that we create a culture in the next year that is sustainable, that continues that feeling that a new member sees, hey, I could be on my chapter board in the next year, 2 years. I could be on the state board in 2 years, 3 years, and even beyond. I think that's how we create enough opportunity and enough empowerment for that succession plan, that we're not creating bottlenecks, artificial or otherwise, that keep people from feeling confident to move on to leadership.
Thanks, Michelle. Who'd like to ask our next question? Looking around the room, watching for a raised hand. Oh, I do see something in the chat. So Kaylee asks, we have partnerships with other organizations on an international level, such as Kiwanis and BNI. So far this year, we've had some members join JC chapters through our partnership with BNI. How will you continue to develop these partnerships or establish new ones to benefit both our membership, WOS, and the other organizations?
So that's a great question. I've been a BNI member for officially, I think myself for 4, but our company has been a member of a BNI for 7 years. I served as a chapter success coach, helping BNI chapters gain members for over a year. And there is a lot of crossover between that organization and JCI in terms of opportunity. Now, it's not necessarily an opportunity that everybody wants to take advantage of, and that's okay, right? But for those who do, it is a mutually beneficial way to help them grow themselves and grow their businesses, which allows them to grow as JCI members. Understanding BNI, for example, I have relationships with the director for BNI Michigan and have assisted some members in joining our Redford chapter from BNI or vice versa, advertising, hey, for a JCI membership, you can also join BNI. And that's been very successful in Redford thus far. I think that the more that we're able to do with partners, the more that we can amplify our impact as well as amplify our value. That's the one thing that when we are talking about membership and recruitment is articulating the value of membership, and these partnerships, BNI, Kiwanis, etc., is another way for us to do that. It's a great sales proposition. It's a great intro. And then the key becomes activation. And that's a whole separate conversation for 90 seconds, but hopefully that answers your question, Kaylee.
Thanks, Michelle. All right, who has our next question? Well, I can certainly give you one of my questions. I have a couple, so we'll see how we do. But your theme about local growth and global opportunities, the word growth, to your point, encompasses various facets of us as individuals, as members, as contributors to the organization. I would love to hear, in 90 seconds or less, right, your greatest learning experience and how you grew from that and how you'll apply that to your role as state president.
Oh my gosh. I don't know that I can say like the greatest learning opportunity, because I feel like these past 13 years has been nothing but learning opportunity after learning opportunity. I guess there may be a level of recency bias on this, but as I said, I grew up in a small town where nobody had a passport that I knew of. That was something for other people at a certain socioeconomic level that we were perhaps not at. So it was kind of a foreign concept. And through JCI, I was asked to do trainings. I did trainings at a local level. I did them at a national level. And eventually I was asked to do them at an international level, which necessitated a passport and traveling for the very first time. So I've been able to go to other conferences, international area conferences and world congresses to train. And in that particular instance, I had another JCI member who traveled with me and was a little bit of a buddy and stuff. But this year I had an international role that asked, and I had one before, but it was, 2020. So best laid plans, right? I went to St. Louis, which was not exactly a foreign location. But this year I was asked to travel to Malaysia by myself, my very first solo international flight, and picked a nice easy one, 40 hours there and 40 hours back. I'm gonna be Gabe's laughing because I whined to him for months about how I was semi terrified about doing this and everything. But when I got to that airport for the first time and I sat in my seat, the empowerment that I felt, that I was like, I am the first one in my family who has gone on an international flight for 40 hours, and I'm going to meet young leaders from around the world, and I'm going to train them on OKRs, and we're going to plan for the year. There was something about that as the growth opportunity that I was like, you know what? It's going to be easy from here on out. Now it's not. But I felt that in that, first 10 minutes of that flight. And that was a huge growth opportunity for me. Something I never thought that I would experience that JCI brought to me.
Thank you for sharing. All right, going back to the crowd, who else has a question for our candidate for 100th president, Michelle McGrann? All right, Gabe, go ahead.
All right, thank you very much. My question is about generally the Chamber of Commerce. So it's an organization that we share parts of our name with, and you would think that matriculation from the junior chamber to the chamber would be something that we see as more common, or at the very least that relationship would be strong. Do you have any thoughts or ideas about strengthening our relationship with local chambers, in particular the state chamber, and helping local organizations as well?
Yeah, so I am lucky enough to come from a chapter in which civic engagement and relationships with our chamber have been super strong for at least the 13 years that I've been a member. And it's kind of, being on a first name basis with the chamber director and like, oh, you're JC. That has benefited our chapters substantially. And it has allowed us to provide value to the community, as well as showing potential members the value that we have back. I would like to take those opportunities take the opportunity to kind of share those learnings with all of our chapters. I think it would be awesome, whether or not super practical, but awesome, and would volunteer that if elected, I'd be more than willing to come and sit down with the local chapter member and their director or operations manager of their local chamber of commerce and explore different ways that we can work together. The one thing I say very commonly and have for a very long time is that we are JCs and they kick us out at 40 for a reason, right? Here's where you learn all the skills that you didn't learn in school, and then you go out into the world and make it a better place and apply those. And the chamber is a great way. It's a great channel to do so. Many chambers, you don't need to be a business owner. You can be a nonprofit leader. You can be an advocate for something in your community and join as a chamber member. And I don't know that a lot of people know that. You can have a relationship with your chamber out of that business spectrum and continue to provide value and good to your community. But we do that through building those relationships. And if it takes, if sitting down and having an hour meeting allows our local chapters to start that relationship building, that is so beyond valuable that I want to dedicate time to doing that and providing that to them if it's possible. And something I'm always open to. So yes, whether it's, hey, you want some tips or you want me to sit down on that meeting, I'll be there for you.
All right, thank you. I'm going to open it up one last time as I look at the time and see that we are coming towards the top of the hour. I want to keep us on track here. So are there any other questions for our candidate? Doing the look, and I don't see any. So I want to say thank you to our candidates for putting yourselves out there, for being vulnerable, for sharing your ideas, for having the confidence to come forward. And while this is not a contested race, you still have to win the votes, right? So please continue to get your word out there about what it is that you're striving to do next year, how you want to move JCI Michigan forward. I'll leave you with a quick story that I think is just so applicable and so timely. Last night, Mike and I were at the Tigers game, and we were up walking around in between innings, and I ran into somebody who's a past Ann Arbor JC, who I haven't seen in easily 10 years, but we recognized each other immediately, came up, gave each other a hug, and started chatting, catching up. And Mike had never met her, so I introduced her. Her name is Beth Foreman, and I said, this is the person who beat me in my only contested race. So I ran for membership vice president of my local chapter, brand new, had been a member about a year, and she and I ran against each other, and I lost. And I said, and she's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you say that. I said, no, I use it as a leadership learning lesson, because the fact of the matter is, you can go out there and you can lose a race, but you can still go on to do amazing things. I got to be national president, right? So, I mean, it didn't stop my leadership journey. And so it's kind of a funny, timely story as we're sitting here tonight at Meet the Candidates talking about this. But, even without contested races, I firmly believe that you have to put yourself out there. You have to be willing to lose in order to really take this organization to the next level and to be a leader in this organization. So thank you to our three candidates for putting yourselves out there. I look forward to watching you lead this organization. As I said, I am here to offer support, guidance, resources, whatever it is that you need. As you continue your experience in this organization. I want to thank President Karina and Chief of Staff / Elections Chair Kimmy for allowing me the opportunity to be here tonight. And with that, I am going to turn the mic over to our 99th President, Karina Townsend, to close us out for the night. So Karina, the floor is yours.
Sorry, y'all wouldn't let me unmute. I just want to say thank you all for taking time out of your evenings to join us. I know that the summer is really busy, so having an hour sometimes can be really challenging. So it's lovely to see all of you who are able to join us here on Zoom. Thank you to everyone who's watching after. We publish on Facebook to learn more about our three candidates. As our Chief of Staff and Election Chair Kimmy mentioned, the election results will come out via Facebook Live on September 7th, and we will swear in the elected candidates at our fall conference. If you've not yet registered, please do so. And the room block closes next Monday, so make sure you're calling and booking your rooms. But with that, I just want to say again, thank you guys so much for your time, and thank you, candidates, for being vulnerable and sharing your ideas and your passions with us. Have a good night, everyone.